Hi, I'm Joe Morrison, founder and CEO of Razor Sharp Consulting and creator of the Donor Finder System. Welcome to the first of a 9-part video series that will take you through the process of creating a donor funnel, which is really a step-by-step system that will help you attract, engage, and convert prospects into donors. You might be tempted to want to figure out the strategy for attracting your donors to your cause right away, right out of the gate. You know, the how part. How do I actually get these donors in the door? But that would be a mistake. That's just your fear and your impatience talking. Just ignore that voice if it's in your head right now. So many of us jump ahead 3 or 4 steps and we miss the important, the critical parts of the process. And then when the process doesn't work, we complain and get more and more frustrated. And my goal is to help you avoid that frustration. And so I'm going to ask that you sort of take a leap of faith and that you trust me for a bit, okay? I promise we'll get to the how part soon enough and everything's going to make sense. You'll not only understand the individual parts, but also how all the parts fit together. But for now, just relax. Complete this step and don't worry about what will follow. I've already thought about all of that for you. The Donor Finder system addresses everything that you need in just the right order to help you climb your mountain, to get you from your point A to your point B. And as I said, we're on step 1, creating the perfect donor profile. You can see that it's one of the first 3 steps needed to attract donors to your cause. It's part of the foundation of the system, if you will. After we learn how to attract potential donors, then we'll learn how to engage and convert them. So before you can begin any of the how parts, you need to understand the who parts. Who are these people you're trying to attract anyway? And we do that by creating a profile of our perfect donor. Notice I didn't say perfect client, perfect donor. Too often when we think about who we want to attract to our nonprofit or to our website, we come up with terms that describe the clientele we are serving. And that's a big mistake. So for example, if you're an affordable housing organization, you may think about words like homeless or needing shelter. But that really describes your clients, not necessarily your donors. Or if you're a Christian ministry that provides free counseling to people, you might think that words like therapy or counseling or helping people overcome challenges would be the way to attract donors, when it really just might be words like spreading the gospel or Christian values that attract your specific potential donors. You really need to focus like a laser on your donors. Who are they? What do they look like? Who do they buy from? Where do they live? When you understand your donors completely and you start to think about them correctly, you'll move them from being anonymous, as in I have no idea who they are or why they give to me, to being intimate with them, knowing precisely why they give and what they're interested in, what values they possess, what passions and dreams they have, and what pain or frustrations they might endure. This puts you on intimate terms with them, and you can almost predict what they will do, who they will hang out with, what books they read, and so on. And this is important information to have, because if you know, for example, that your potential donor subscribes to, say, Christianity Today or Architectural Digest, you can create messages that appeal directly to those audiences, and you're 10 times more likely to attract them to your cause. Quite frankly, you're never going to be able to attract someone if you don't know what it is you are searching for, or if you're looking for the wrong thing, because then you're likely to find the wrong thing. And that's what so many of us do. We attract the wrong audience, and then we try to force them in a way into giving. It's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't work. How much better is it if we attract the right people in the first place who perfectly fit into the puzzle of our organization or our project? Here's an example from Ken Burnett's marvelous book, Relationship Fundraising, a donor-based approach to the business of raising money. He says, I worked with an organization with a dual mission. It provided inner-city middle school children with the tools they needed to go beyond their public school education and receive scholarships for private schools or the city's best magnet schools and eventually college. Talented high school and college students who in turn drew talented teachers into urban education, where they were most needed, taught the programming. It was a definite win-win. And after reviewing a sampling of our most loyal donors, when I envisioned this agency's target, I arrived at Lisa. Lisa is a 47-year-old woman with a master's degree in political science. She didn't grow up in the area, but moved to the region with her husband for his career 12 years ago. She considers herself a progressive liberal and an environmentalist and believes in the importance of giving back. Lisa and her husband enjoy a relatively affluent lifestyle and live in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Their eldest son is a junior at Berkeley, and their daughter is in her junior year at the local public high school. She drives a Prius, and she shops at Whole Foods. Lisa volunteers for 3 organizations and serves on 2 boards. When I put one of my coaching clients through this exercise, he was surprised. He had always seen his organization's mission, providing school supplies to kids who couldn't afford them, as appealing to teachers. And while the organization did enjoy a base of teacher support, the vast majority of its donors were middle-aged women who had known poverty as children. Can you see how identifying your ideal donor will help you in developing your ideal messaging? It's critical to know your donor. So this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to begin thinking about your perfect donor. Where do they live? What is their income? How many children do they have? Where do they go to church? What kind of car do they drive? Get very specific. This is what the first page of the donor profile framework will help you explore, to be sure that you capture the right information and to help you create the one perfect donor profile. There's no substitute for this step. You've got to dig in and make it count. The more you know about your perfect donor, the more additional perfect donors you're going to be able to attract later on. So start with the donors you currently have, and if you need to, sort of congeal all of their information into the perfect donor. You may want to think about averages here. What's the average age? What's the average amount a donor gives? Where do most donors live, etc.? Now, this requires that you do a little homework, I know, but print out your donor list and see what commonalities or similarities your donors have, and then begin creating that profile. Now, if you currently have no donors or very few donors, use your board or the volunteers that are around you as your examples. Take the average age, the average amount they give, and put that into a perfect donor profile. Again, the more specific you can be, the better results you're going to achieve. Now, what you're really trying to do here ultimately is to get your donors to their point B, their biggest passion or their greatest dream. A world without cancer, a planet that is well cared for, or clean drinking water for everyone. Whatever your donor's point B is, you need to hone in on that and help them be able to get there. You see, a donor's pain or a fear is the place that they are right now. It's their point A. Their goals and their dreams haven't happened yet. It's their future. It's their point B. You want to help them fulfill their goals and complete their dreams by moving them from point A to point B. It's a fairly simple concept, but it's very often neglected or misunderstood when it comes to fundraising. So let's take a moment to think about your donors' pains and frustrations. What possible pains could they have anyway, right? These are the ones who are going to be donating the money. They can't possibly have pains or frustrations, or else they wouldn't be donating the money to me, right? They'd be using it to solve their own pains, wouldn't they? Well, yes, they would. which is precisely why you need to capitalize on this fact and show them how you relieve their pains by serving others. When you show your potential donors how you relieve someone else's pain, you show them how you relieve their own pain too, by extension. It's a bit of a psychological connection, but it's a very real connection too. Think about it for a moment. Let me give you a personal example. For me, child abuse is one of those topics that makes every hair on my body stand up. I get so angry and so frustrated whenever I hear about a child being abused in any way. It's just not right. It's evil to harm a child. Now, I might not even have any connection with child abuse. As a matter of fact, I don't. No one in my family was ever abused that I know of, and it doesn't really impact me on a daily basis in any way. But if I read a story about how you're combating child abuse by taking action to protect the innocent, it's going to resonate with me, I promise you. And my ears are going to perk up. I'm going to pay attention. Well, that's the way pains and frustrations work in your perfect donor profile. Really think about what pains and frustrations your donors have, and you'll be well on your way to connecting with them on a very deep and very real level. Now, I want you to condense all of those pains and frustrations that you've come up with down into a few words or a few phrases and list them on the first page of your donor profile framework. This is going to really be key when you start to create ads for your donors. It may not mean anything now, but it will later. Because all you'll have to do is to come back to this sheet and use the keywords that you've discovered here. Goals and values, of course, are future focused. They haven't happened yet. It's your donors' hope that they will happen. You see, fundraising is really all about values. People have values and organizations have values. And when the two match, money flows. When the two don't match, you have a drought. Your objective here is to find that match. You probably already know what values you promote within your organization. You certainly should know what your own personal values are. So, in a lot of ways, you already have half of the equation. All you need to do now is think of what values and goals your donor has. For example, some typical values, just to prime the pump here and to get you thinking, include things like authenticity, autonomy, balance, compassion, competency, fairness, faith, honesty, influence, kindness, learning, loyalty, peace, self-respect, trustworthiness, and wisdom. Whatever the values of your donor, you're going to want to highlight or concentrate on them. The values that they have that closely resemble your own. But try not to force it, okay? If there's no connection, there's no connection. But let the whole process flow naturally, and you'll end up with a better result. Once again, go back to your donor profile framework and list the keywords that summarize your donor's goals and values. Fears and implications. Everyone has fears. And when we understand the implications of those fears, we tend to have a breakthrough. For me, it's bees. For some reason, I am deathly afraid of bees. When there's one nearby, I panic. I absolutely panic. And it takes a concerted effort for me not to break into a full sprint away from wherever they are. But we all have fears. Think about what fears your donors may have as it relates to your cause. If you're not an organization that deals with insects or medical help or sprinting, you probably could care less that I have a fear of bees, right? And we probably won't connect, at least not on that level. So you'll have to think of something else, some other way to connect with me. But when you understand giving triggers, fears factor in at the top of the equation. If my father died of cancer, which he did, by the way, colon cancer to be exact, I might have a fear of getting colon cancer. So I'm more likely to have the very unpleasant procedure of having my colon checked. Think about your donors' fears and what actions they may need to take in order to avoid their fears. Then focus in like a laser on those fears when you're creating your ads or your messages to your prospects. Go to your donor profile framework and list the words that summarize your donor's key fears and implications. Let's talk for a moment about dreams and passions. Dreams and passions are more than just nice, fluffy feelings. What you need to understand about dreams and passions is that they really do cause people to act. If I have a dream to spend my days on a deserted island sipping pina coladas, I'm more likely to act in ways that bring that to pass. In other words, I'll do things now to make money so I can afford that kind of lifestyle, right? The same is true of your potential donors. And when you can show them how you are already making their own dreams and passions come to pass for the clients you serve, then they'll interpret the results you achieve as worth supporting because it really serves their own purposes, if only psychologically. For example, if your organization puts a book into every school-age child's hand, and I'm passionate about reading or literature, you've made a connection with me, and I'm more likely to support those actions. Does that make sense? Connect with your donors by capitalizing on their dreams and their passions. If you think about it, this is why organizations that offer hope to people do so well. Hope is one of those sort of intangible things you very often can't put into words. But most people understand the value and the principle of hope, and they're likely to support others who provide it. Think about the statement, we provide hope by giving people a hand up, not a hand out. Now, that's pretty impactful, and it resonates on a deep level with a large number of people. Don't forget to list your keywords once again on your sheet so that they're there when you need them later. Let's look at demographics and objections. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, but I want you to think just for a moment about other factors in your perfect donor makeup. Things like their age and their gender and their marital status, where they live, what kind of jobs they have, what level of income do they produce, and what education do they have, that kind of thing. Basic demographic and employment information is really, really important here. And just so think about that and list as much of that as you possibly can on your sheet. And that's what the second page of your donor profile framework should help with. But I really want you to concentrate on the lower two topics, okay? The first of which, of course, is sources of information. Think for a moment about what books or magazines they read. What blogs do they go to? What websites do they visit? What gurus do they follow? What other charities do they support? This is going to become very useful later on when you're creating ads and deciding where to place those ads. If your ideal donor reads, say, Blue Whale magazine, and your organization is working to save the whales, you can target the readers of the magazine with advertisements and then attract them to your cause. The second area I want you to think about is a little tougher. I want you to think about the top objections your particular donors might have about engaging in your work or contributing to your cause. If you can overcome their objections before they even raise their objections, you're halfway to converting a prospect to a donor. And there are really only a few categories of objections. Things like, I don't have any money, or I don't feel that strongly about what you're doing, or I'm giving to another charity. Why should I give to yours? Or, I can't give money to everyone that asks. These are all objections that are easily overcome, and we'll deal with them later. And we can especially deal with them in the donor finder community. For now, though, just think about which are the most prominent objections of your perfect donor and write them down. Okay, well, that will really complete the first part of the donor finder system. It's pretty simple, right? Next, we're going to discuss how to activate your mission, how to really make that connection with your perfect donor profile. I've spent countless hours with nonprofit leaders, especially during their strategic planning sessions, dealing with their missions and their mission statements. And what I can tell you is that 99.9% of them never think to connect their mission to their donors. They only always think about their clients. And so they create these mission statements and spend days and hours and sometimes weeks talking about their mission statement so that they can attract clients, when they really should be thinking about their mission as it relates to their donors. And they should be connecting that mission to their donors. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to write a mission statement, but we're going to deal with this connection between your mission and your donors. Okay, so we're probably going to take you down a path that you've never gone down before. And I'm going to show you how to connect these two things, your mission and your donor, in this Mission Activator session, which is going to be next. But before we do that, of course, I really need you to download and complete the Perfect Donor Profile Framework. It's essential that you have this information before we move forward. And of course, if you want to help, feel free to download, or rather upload your work if you need help. Upload your work to the Donor Finder System community and ask for feedback there. And you're sure to get some great advice and some great critiques. And as always, please voice your concerns or comments in the Donor Finder community and let me know what you thought about the Perfect Donor Profile. I honor you for taking the time to complete this video training and for learning how to grow your nonprofit. I look forward to our next time together. Bye-bye.